What's up, guys? Another video of Chibi No Podcast. You got me, David the Smash Fan.
Mazteca.
And Japorion, what's up, guys?
And it is time to talk about the finale of Attack on Titan. Now, the chapter 139 dropped, and this is the final chapter of Attack on Titan. And there's been tons of buzz about this, actually. It's been kind of good and bad, the way that this finale came about. And so we want to talk about that because we all followed it. I think we have... I don't know what our opinions are because I haven't asked you specifically if you like the ending or not. But I think they might differ. Maybe we're all on the same page. I don't know. But let's kind of get a summary of what happened just the previous chapter before. So I'm gonna pass this over to Japorian actually. Japorian, just give us just a brief little summary of what happened the chapter right before this final one. Just brief, very brief. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, I'm gonna say where to start because
tons of stuff happened.
I mean, I've been talking about this quite a lot. So, I mean, I think we should just at least provide some kind of introduction about why we're talking about Attack on Titan. I know that we've been talking about it for a while. I know, like in the Chibi podcast, I did mention it quite a lot, and I've been following it quite a lot. And finally, after many years, the final chapter of Attack on Titan came. Prior to this final chapter, well, spoiler alert for people that haven't read it or haven't seen it, Eren starts on a rampage. They start trying to kill people, turning people into Titan. And at the very end, at a particular point, Mikasa makes that sacrifice and, spoiler alert, kills Eren. And basically, it was everything was coming into place, but they had to defeat Eren in order for them to live, per se. So that's, I guess, the simple summary, the whole recap. But then this new chapter is the final chapter that elaborates a little more into what happens next and how Attack on Titan finally ends after 11 years or so.
Yeah, it does. And I wasn't expecting the chapter to begin the way that it did. So it began in this... Well, you see Armin and Eren talking to each other when they're kids. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And then it kind of clicked as they start reading and the dialogue starts going. It's like, oh, they're in that weird whatever world thingy-mabob that is in the Attack Titan's power.
Where you never die kind of thing.
Yeah, their version of the... I don't know exactly what to call it. But he starts talking. And this whole conversation just confirmed what I had talked about when I talked about it with Miles, because I know Miles, like, up to this point, Miles had a huge issue. He's like, why did he turn Eren into a bad guy? Like, why would he change so much? And I was like,
it was out of his character.
And I told Miles, and Miles can vouch for me. I said, Miles, just think about it. Like, would Eren really do this without a purpose? Like, exactly. I told him there was a point in the manga and in the anime that you'll see where Eren was gonna say something, and I know he saw something, and he just didn't say anything to anyone. And I told him that's the point where he knew what was going to happen, and he knew what steps had to be taken. Now, the actual dialogue and what happens is actually a little bit more different. What I was thinking, because I was thinking he was consciously making a decision of this is the way that it has to play out in order to get to this end. But the conversation with Armin doesn't really go. It's more like this was, no matter what Eren like would have done, like this is the way that it had to be. Like he really couldn't do anything. He just kind of like went with the flow with basically his destinies because he couldn't do anything else. He just knew, because he has an interesting line. He says, with the founding Titan power, there's no like past or present. Everything's just all one. And so he like ever experienced the beginning, the end, the middle, and it wasn't like a flow of time. It was just all at once. And that was a really interesting line that he put in there. And that's why he already knew what's going to happen. Like, no matter what he did, like it was already written in the stars. It was already written how it was going to end.
Yeah, I had to make the final sacrifice, like that Titan Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess Miles, yeah, you haven't talked yet, but kind of give us your thoughts on this dialogue here. Like, did this help you with like your whole issue with Eren having this like 180 turn, and did you enjoy the explanation? Did you think it was not up to where you wanted to? Did you wanted more? Maybe like another extra chapter to explain what he did? Because in the chapter, just to elaborate a little bit more, this isn't just Armin that had this conversation with Eren. Eren actually had this with tons of people. Like, he visited everyone to tell them what his plan was, and then made them forget. So, Miles, like, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this, because I remember how what you were feeling before the chapter.
I was pretty passionate about it. Yeah, I was saying that the only thing with all this is Eren being a villain in the build-up of the character. Like, I know I had an argument with your brother with Diego, and he's like, no, it's always been made that he would be a villain. It's like, no, it does not. It's bullshit. There's a reason he's doing this, and my prediction came true. It was that the only thing that makes sense is Eren's always been about the biggest sacrifice, sacrificing everything for the greater good. That's always been his character. The only thing that made sense was he's being the villain that everybody needed to be to bring peace at the end, and that's exactly what happened. And yes, it did make it made it better for me. It was the only thing that makes sense, because you have to look at Eren's character. Eren was always about, the freedom and the freedom of his people, and at the end of the day, the only thing Eren really cared about was protecting his friends and family. It's how he's always been. So what's going to be the biggest thing? Eren's always been sacrificial. He's always been about, what can I do to step in front of the way to make sure that all my friends are okay? And that's exactly what he was doing. And when everybody turned to Titans, he released them at the very end. I mean, I knew it had to be this. It's the only thing that made sense of the character. And at the end of the day, Eren was right. I mean, he only had, like, how many more, like 2 more years or something left, or 3? It wasn't much, right? He didn't have much life left. And at the end of the day, he did exactly what Eren would do. He became the villain that everybody needed to bring peace at the end of the day. It sucks that, like, 80% of the people died, but without little people at the end, I mean, I know it sucks, but he was just doing what the best thing he could think of was, there's too many people. It's going to create some big, massive war again. And he just mitigated it to the point to where, people can come to peace again. And that Eren was the bigger villain that needed to be defeated. All the Titans are gone now, and to me, that made Eren's character, and it made his finale perfect. Now, the ending kind of sucked to the degree that every other manga ends, right? You get like 2 or 3 happy panels and it ends. What else is new? I'm over that. It's not a big deal. But for the most part, yeah, it was in Eren's character. It was exactly what I predicted, and I thought it worked. So, yeah. I liked it.
What about you, Japarion? I mean, not necessarily the dialogue, but kind of your thoughts on just how this chapter wrapped up everything, because we'll go into more detail about certain other parts, but just what are your thoughts on it?
At first, I'm gonna say Isayama goes troll big time, because initially they did mention that the final chapter is going to be somebody holding a baby, and that's been talked so many times.
Oh yeah, the cock block, wasn't it?
I guess.
Well, you saw Historia's baby, right, Paul? Didn't you see Historia's baby?
Yeah, I saw Historia's baby, but it wasn't the same way that people envisioned, because I saw the initial drawing that they had.
Yeah.
Rough drafts of that, and it wasn't. It was something very similar, but not exactly what. I wonder if
your Snoke theory sucks.
No, but still. Another thing about that too is, like, a lot of people were hinting that Historia had a child with Eren, and that's not the case either. It was just a baby that Eren,
I mean, they didn't say yes or no, though, right? Do we have confirmation on that? Or do we know?
They did mention before in the previous chapters when they announced her that she was sleeping around with like a
sleeping around.
All that. Well, I guess they got married. They have a kid. I don't know. But the thing about that,
sleeping around.
It is specified that. Well, at that particular point, it seems like it was specified, but nobody actually wanted to believe that. Everybody was thinking, oh, maybe that's Eren's kid, and it didn't happen. So I guess that's a good thing. That wasn't expected for me, and I think for a lot of people as well. Maybe some people would be like kind of mad and angry about it because they wanted to get.
They're just mad because the prediction didn't come true, right? Yeah.
Right. And I get it, but I think that's the fun of it as well too. I think Isayama he knew what he was doing, and he knew how he had to deliver. I gotta say, there was a lot of like tear-jerking moments in this chapter, especially once everybody came back to, well, back to human, and you get to see Levi saluting his comrades that pass away as well.
Oh,
and then you see Sasha, right, like in front of Jane and
Forrest Ghost Sasha,
the other guy,
Connie.
Yeah, so it was funny. Yeah, it was able to. It was really cool. Like there were really good moments in here. I was kind of surprised that it was kind of short. I was expecting to be a little bit longer. Maybe like a couple of pages.
Just how I expected. It sucks, man. Why do mangas always do this, guys?
I mean, apart from the ending, I'm okay with the ending, to be honest. I'm not like really disappointed.
Let me ask you this, because I know David, this question for you.
I think what me it's really important was the whole journey. Oh no, you can go to David. I want to hear what he thinks.
Well, I had a question for David. I wanted to know what you, because you were, I have a question for you. So you were talking about, you were worried about answers being, questions being unanswered. How did you feel?
And what was the question you had an answer?
Well, no, my whole thing was like I was worried that they would present more questions, and we just wouldn't get answers to them just because it's the final chapter. Because there's a lot of mangas that have that, and some of them are open-ended questions that don't have to be answered. But like I was thinking, like, well, are they gonna throw stuff at us, lore-wise or something-wise, and we don't get a clear explanation, or it's not hinting at something that's clear, and so it's like, well, and that's what I don't like when they give us questions that that doesn't have like a hint, like it's this. Like for example, like the very ending panel is when you see Mikasa. She's at Eren's grave, and she has the scarf, and it's drooping down, and the bird comes and grabs it and puts it over her shoulder. That's like kind of.
I like that.
It's kind of alluding that that's Eren's in some form is maybe alive or doing something, and giving her comfort in some way. Like it's just, but like that's fine, right? Because you can kind of read between the lines and see what that's talking about.
You can read between the lines. It's symbolic, right? It's beautiful.
But it just be like just other things that I just was worried that they wouldn't answer. I mean, I don't know what. I didn't have a question. The only thing that I was they kind of threw in there, and I was like, was the fact that, again, we talked about how the Founding Titan's power is that there's no real past, present, or future. It's just all seen at once, and that he kind of had control over like what was going to happen because he was like the final one. And the most interesting thing was like he did something. He talks about like Berthold wasn't supposed to die when like younger, right?
That was the weirdest thing, actually.
And I was like, okay. And he said, and then he said, then he's actually sent his dad's former wife to go to attack and kill his mom. And so now I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so he sent his dad's ex-wife to hunt the mom, but the whole fact that he had revenge or wanted revenge because the Titan killed his mom. And then I started getting dizzy, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna think about this anymore. He just did that because he knew it had to happen that way. So that's all I kind of put into. But it was kind of that explanation was a little bit choppy, and it just was like, okay. I mean, I guess it was something that I don't think we needed to know. Just the whole thing that he sees everything as like at the same time instead of in a timeline was enough of an explanation for me. But the fact that he had to go into like what happened with Berthold and then sending the Titan to kill his mom kind of thing was kind of I just kind of like I don't think that was needed, but
I don't think it was needed. That was unnecessary.
Yeah,
but I'm just asking, like, is there questions that you had that you felt were unanswered?
Well, I guess
anything else?
There wasn't any like other huge questions that I had, because I guess my thing was, my question that I had to think about was like, well, he talks Armin, and in the like epilogue it talks about like peace, but it actually doesn't specify that there is peace. He just says there's not going to be any wars for the time being because 80% of the population's gone, and even after like all the Titans are gone, there's still that hostility that's happening between the two people. And even after the time skip, after 3 years, they're still they're ambassadors now of peace, which is the irony that they're the ambassadors of peace when they're the ones that started all these wars and like were very aggressive. So that was the irony there. But the peace that like Eren wanted, had always wanted, wasn't for the world. It was for his friends. That's what he fought for.
Always Eren's character.
And so he said,
a great character.
and he said like, and he said to Armin like, you're gonna be the one that's gonna bring the peace. Like it's not me, it's him. So he gave peace to Armin and Mikasa so that Armin can start actually getting like world peace in some form. And so when I was first reading it, I was kind of like, where's this peace he's talking about? And I had to read it again just to kind of have it click in my head and be like, this is what he's talking about. The peace that Eren always wanted wasn't for the world, it was just for his friends. And then from there, he says, from there, it's up to you, Armin. And he knew Armin could do it. Because Armin has shown time and time again that he's also willing to make sacrifices. We saw it when he went against Bertholdt. We saw it way before when he advocated for Eren when he first got the Titan powers. And now...
He was the next Erwin. He really was. It was the perfect choice. He was perfect.
So honestly, like, this whole chapter, after reading it even 2 or 3 more times, like, I've enjoyed it more and more. To me, it's very satisfactory. Like, I don't understand the hate that it gets. It
ended in the dark tone that it's always been doing. Yeah. It's like where they made Reiner a cool character when he's supposed to be a villain. I mean, the writing, where did you think this was going to go? I mean, the ending ended just how it needed to.
Yeah, I mean,
what if people think it was going to be great? It's going to be a Game of Thrones ending at the end of the day.
I mean, to be fair, I still don't like Gabby. Whatever she did, I still don't like her. I don't like her, and I never probably will. But like, I felt like this is one of the few, in my opinion, I don't know about yours, in my opinion, it just ended without having any huge disappointments for me. Like, I just felt like everything was great. They spent time to give us this closure that Eren really did care about everyone, because everyone was crying, because they're like, I remember now what happened. I remember that he talked to me personally, and it shows just how much Eren cared. And even now, even after he's dead or supposedly dead, he's still taking care of Mikasa, and to show that he. Oh yeah, go ahead, Paul.
No, I was gonna add on that. I think that's what makes this chapter special. I don't think it's happy ending. It is a happy that it is an ending that needed to happen. Because, and I do agree with David in that particular sense, because all of this was related to Eren. It was Eren's story. This is Eren's sacrifice. This is Eren he was trying to accomplish, trying to get that freedom that he was fighting for from the very beginning to get to that particular point. Of course, he might come out as a bad guy, but then again, if you think about it, when you talk and you analyze villains are also good in their own way. They have a reason why they wanted to be villains, and maybe that's the way that he came across. But at the end, he needed to do that in order to provide, to have a greater response, a greater cost.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Just to a happiness for all of his friends, his family. And I think that other part that touched me a lot is when the last part with Armin was talking with Eren, and Eren was saying goodbye. And Armin was crying, and he was really, really sad because of his friend. And not to mention, Eren, he didn't want to end like this. He showed that he really cared about Mikasa. He really loved her, and he wanted to.
All you haters that said we're wrong, screw you. There was a relationship there. Screw you guys.
Right, and I like that part because you get to see the old Eren back acting in that particular sense. Because you don't get to see that, I mean, this whole season or this whole last chapters, which does show that he had everything planned on along. And I feel really bad for, Armin and Mikasa, especially Mikasa, because she was the one who was attached to him the whole time, and they had feelings for each other, but he had to make that particular sacrifice. And I think it was a proper ending. I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do with it, and I gotta say, at least for me, that I mentioned it. Like I keep mentioning a while to you guys. I mean, it's going to be a good ending as long as they have a landing for the end. I think they did. I think if people were to really analyze and objectively and trying to see what Isayama was trying to tell from the very beginning to the very end, you will find this is a good story. This is something very unique. This is something kind of gory as well, but at the same time, I think the main topic of all this is the sacrifice and the friendship that he had for his friends. So that's my opinion.
Miles, what about you? Your thoughts? Just overall.
As a manga, I mean, I was frustrated with Eren being the villain for a while, and I just kept saying to myself, "There's no way breaks his character." It was pissing me off. And the only way they could have redeemed it was Eren was trying to be the villain that he needed to be for everybody to bring world peace, and that was my prediction, and it was true. It's the only way it would have fit his character. If they would have broke that at the ending, I would have hated it. So no, at the end it was great. Mikasa's always been my favorite character, or the Ackermans in general, I should say. Her and Levi have been my favorite characters. So I thought Mikasa's ending was beautiful. Yeah, I'm glad he survived. I thought one Ackerman might die, but Mikasa's always been my favorite, and I thought her ending was beautiful. It sucked that she had to kill Eren, but I think that was the best way. I thought that showed a lot of growth with her character, because it's the hardest thing she could have ever done as a character, and she did it. And the kissing at the end, it was a little awkward, but it still was Attack on Titan at the same time. It
was dark, but it showed a lot of love in there.
It was appropriate, and the scarf thing, that really hit me. That hit me in the chest. The scarf moment was really beautiful. I absolutely loved that. It looks like Armin got Annie, which good for him. It kind of insinuated that. I mean, she's a dope girl, so good for him. But overall, I mean, I don't know, dude. It ended in the way that Attack on Titan would have ended. I mean, it was a shitty 2-panel manga ending that we get all the time, but I'm used to it. So overall, I thought it was a great ending. I put it up there with the Inuyasha endings. I thought it was great. It just covered all the bases of where everybody's at now. There's peace, and there you go in closure. I liked it.
So here, I think Paul, just to end this, Paul, I think, asked me this question a few months back, or maybe it wasn't that too long, but he was like, will the ending, the final chapter, will it put it into just a good manga, or a great manga, or ones that are legend kind of status? For me, Fullmetal Alchemist, not just the end, but the manga was so great. I can't put Dragon Ball on there, because Dragon Ball, I think after Boo, it just fizzled out, and as much as I love Dragon Ball Z, it just didn't work for me. Fullmetal Alchemist is probably the one that's always been a 10 out of 10 for me. That's the one, just the whole story, everything. It gave me everything, right? If I gave me a conclusion to the story, it gave me an epilogue that I really loved, that showed that there could be continuation. It's not just an end, and I loved it. That one, I hold as the everything compares to this.
So you're talking about beginning, middle, and the whole story.
Yeah. So
full horse.
Yeah. So Attack on Titan, I can't put it at the same level as Fullmetal Alchemist, manga-wise, specifically because of there was just one huge part that the anime did a lot better, was when they're fighting Kenny. That part in the manga was the hardest to get through. It was so hard to get through because there was just so much stuff that they weren't doing anything. But
almost dropped the manga, David. That was bad.
But that's just a small little snippet of it that if you take away, and if you just watch the anime of that part, other than that, I would put it right up there. But to me, I would put it probably if I don't have an actual list, but I would put it at least in my top 5 manga endings or story endings that I've ever read. And I just, because like I said, it ended the way it needed to be. It gave us explanations. There weren't too many big holes. I mean, you might have some issues with some explanations, like I said, about the whole mom thing, him sending the Titan to kill his mom, which is kind of weird.
Stupid.
But again, this is Attack on Titan. I'm not surprised. I guess it's not something I was like, are you serious? I'm like, well, that's this world. That's some of the stuff just doesn't make sense. Like again, there's titans they're fighting, so that's me. So I would put it at least top 5 endings for me.
Yeah, I probably put it.
I mean, for me, I would probably consider an anime classic. You know, along with all the other big titles that we have, for sure. I mean, not to mention, apart from the ending, the whole following that it's getting. I think that's one. Attack on Titan is one of the reasons why nowadays people are okay with anime. Nowadays, I mean, there has been always been like that, but I think I noticed that Attack on Titan has been the one catalyst to push people into watching it a lot more and speaking a lot more. I know friends that are becoming more comfortable talking about anime because of Attack on Titan, and it's been going on everywhere. Like even if you go to Reddit, I mean, the most popular topics are Attack on Titan topics, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So I do consider that to be a classic. Like I'll put along the lines with Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note, and some other stuff. Even Code Geass as well too. I think that having all those animes in there, I like it because it raises the bar. Of course, some people might not like it. People will like it, but I think, and hopefully because of this, it will inspire other new animes that are maybe coming in the future to try to raise that level or to go even higher. And the fact that this is being a work for 11 years or so has demonstrated how much of a following it has. And I'm really excited what they're going to do with the anime because I know the anime has, like David mentioned, made a lot of improvements. And I do wonder what they're going to do with this particular ending, if they're going to add additional stuff in there, because he has Isayama's collaboration on there. He has a voice in there as well. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen next to proper end it and to finally interrupt people being spoiled with all the manga reference. I think at this particular point, it's kind of hard not to be spoiled, especially with this particular ending because it got so big. So I think there is definitely has got a place in my heart as a classic anime, and the anime that I probably watch or read again, along with my Alchemist and all the other classic ones that I really like.
I'm just glad it's finally over. It's been a long ride for this.
I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, I am too.
It's
unhappy,
it's sad,
but like it needed to end, man. My God. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I do hope that that's it. That they just ended. No more spin-off. Not about like Kid Generation, Boruto stuff. They have
money
that's
talk,
how you
bro.
make it into a class. I know, it's sad, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But I think there are some things that should be untouched and just let it rest. Maybe in 20, 30 years, if you want to, I think that maybe that we can definitely talk about it. But at this particular point, they did what they need to. They deliver.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else that can be said. I think we unanimously said that we've liked this series a lot from beginning to end. I mean, no road is without some stumbling rocks, which this story had. But like I agree with Paul. Like I feel like it's a classic. It's just the whole impact it's had has been phenomenal for those who like anime. I mean, heck, they've had collaboration with Marvel. Like that doesn't happen with a lot of animes. Like this one, they just recently had one with Deadpool and with All Might. Like, and Attack on Titan is, I mean, and My Hero is like still evolving, even though it's in its quote unquote like final arc. It still hasn't been has been around as long as Attack on Titan. So it's sad to see it go, but I'm glad we were able to get to read this, and I'm actually really excited to see people who watch the anime to see how they react to this ending when it's finally animated. Like I'm really excited to see that.
If they're not spoiled, if they're not spoiled, which that's kind of difficult nowadays. But I do gotta say something because.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was gonna say something because we like this anime much, manga, but we haven't talked as much in other podcasts. I noticed that, and I think having the opportunity to talk about this, it's really exciting to finally talk about, being able to talk about something that we really enjoyed that much I mean, I like it a lot more than, I guess, my hero at this particular point, to be honest. But I know I'm kind of curious, if I were to ask a couple of questions. Like, first of all, I do want to know who was your favorite character and the reason why. I think Miles just specified about Mikasa, but I would like to know a little bit more about that, just out of curiosity.
I guess it's more the Ackermans in general. It's her and Levi. I guess I think Mikasa just a little bit more, but it was just kind of the mystery of what's inspiring her to follow her friends so much, because she was kind of like the one character out of the group that was like, you saw a lot of Armin's ambitions, you saw a lot of Aaron's ambitions, but Mikasa was kind of just always kind of just following along. And she was always the strongest character out of the three. But to find out like that mystery of like, there's definitely a love there that some people are like, no, it's not true, blah blah blah. It's like bullshit. And then you find out that love was driving her, and to see how much she sacrificed for that. And at the end of the day, the biggest battle of her was Aaron at the end of the day, and the biggest thing in her life was Aaron, and to have to sever that the way that she did to bring peace to the end it was just a great build up to her character, you know. And she was constantly battling where people were pushing her, telling her what to do, and at the end of the day, everything was for Aaron, and she never dropped that out of character throughout many years of bullshit and things that she saw. And she was just very a strong inspirational character. That's really what I liked about her. And then second to that was Levi. I mean, we can all agree why Levi is fucking, I mean,
That's great.
the Ackermans are the shit at the end of the day. And I just really like how strong-willed they are, how strong the characters they are, how independent they are, and at the end of the day, their ideologies are what drive them. And it's literally one of the biggest reasons why they won. Was the Ackermans. So.
Fair enough. What about you, David? I'm kind of curious. We've never actually had this conversation.
I've actually been rewatching and rereading some of the earlier chapters and watching the earlier seasons, and
yeah, me too.
To me, this too. It had to have been Armin and Erwin. Like, when I keep seeing like them, what they did, how they were leaders, when they, especially Armin, who in the beginning of this was the one following Eren, and so it was more like Eren is the one that's going to be the leader. Eren is the one that they're following. But Armin, like, ever since they were scouts, like, you just saw this growth in him. Like I said, he was willing to go in front of cannons, in front of rifles, and to plead to the scouts about how Eren is the key to stopping this invasion, is the key to taking down the Titans that are attacking the city at that point. His speech, it gives me chills. Like, in English and in Japanese, it just gives me chills. The way that he does that speech, the way it's read, is just amazing. The way that he had to overcome how he was self-conscious, self-doubting himself, to be to the point to where Erwin is. Because Erwin was like, you know what, he looked sometimes like ruthless in the way that he thought and the way that he did things, but he did it because he knew what the outcome needed to be as well. So like and he was so bad at it. Like, but I love that part when they're attacking, that when they're going to have to save Eren and everyone, and then that freaking Titan comes and bites his arm, and everyone looks back like, oh crap, we're done. And he's like, just keep going, just go. I was like, this guy. And then when they're gonna go against the Beast Titan, he's like, we're all gonna die. He's like, but we're not gonna die, you know, meaninglessly. Like, we're gonna die knowing that there's someone else is gonna remember us, that we're giving other people the opportunity to live. And he's one of the first ones to fall, like when they go against the Beast Titan. But then he gives that opportunity and convinces everyone to give the opportunity for Levi to come and take down Zeke. And Armin, like, he had his time with Berthold. He made himself basically almost dying, get burned, to give Eren a chance to come and take down Berthold. So just seeing their character development, the way that they kind of mirrored each other, I just loved. And the fact that he is now, I guess, if they were ever to make a spin-off, that I'm not saying that they should, but if they ever were, like, he would be the main center of it, because he'd be the one that said, I'm the one that killed Eren, I'm the one that's the leader, I'm the one that's gonna bring peace. And that just takes the cake for me, those two.
They're valid points. I actually had to agree with both of you. Like for me, I'll probably say it will be a toss between Armin and Levi. And the reason why Armin, like most of the stuff that David said, I completely agree with him. I like that he's the one who has a heart. Eren has a desire to have freedom and get revenge initially. Mikasa is always there to follow Eren subconsciously and because of her love, of course. But Armin, he's the one who had to grow from his experience, not knowing what he was supposed to be doing, to getting to see the ocean, to being there to support Mikasa when Eren was turning bad. And at the very end, at the very end fight with him and Eren, it's something that you could not see at the very beginning, initially on Attack on Titan, but being able to see it at the very end, like the two closest friends fighting to get this issue resolved. And like I said, at the very last moment in which Eren and Armin were in the subconscious talking to each other really close and explaining to Armin the whole situation, and Armin being able to cry in front of Eren to see, I don't want my friend, one of my closest friends, to disappear, but it had to be done because I understand the purpose of it, and to become a leader. That whole development shows how much Armin has gone through and all the sacrifices. I mean, one of the parts that really got to me the most when Armin gets killed, and I was like really shocked, and I was like, this can't be happening. But then you see the decision that led for him to become a Titan, and how he was able to pick up and make the decision as to why they chose him, and that helped him mature him a lot as well. It is amazing, and as I said, like it's between him and Levi. I mean, Levi, he kicks ass. He's awesome. Everything that he does has a particular purpose. He's very stylish when it comes to do his killing, and he's very objective. And at the end, he really cares about his comrades from the very beginning to the very end. And that also tells a lot about leader that people should follow and have respect for as well.
I have a question for you guys real quick. At the very end, there's an interesting conversation with Reiner and his mom. The people like Armin and Reiner, do they get to live after all the Titans were gone? Is that life cap gone? Because it was kind of insinuated, in my opinion.
Yeah, it completely erased the Titan line, and so there's no more Titans that can be born anymore, and it can't be passed down.
Carriers are okay; they can live now their lives and not worry.
Yeah, they can live.
Yep.
See that?
Yeah, that's why Eren had to make the sacrifice as well.
See that again? That's just what made Eren a great character. But we're talking about our favorite characters, and it's not my favorite, obviously. I already said my favorites, but can we just give a really quick shout out on the writer, the mangaka, and what he did with Reiner? What a fantastic character he wrote. Unfreaking real to make one of the most hated characters be one of the most beloved. Absolutely phenomenal way to write the different point of view, and then also on top of that write growth to that, and then the sacrifices he pulls at the end. Reiner ended up being an incredible character that I hated, and then ended up loving by the end. Phenomenal writing.
See,
phenomenal.
I could see the same thing about Gabi as well. I know a lot of people, it's gonna be controversial and gonna be really hard, and I know David's not gonna like it. But I
hate Gabi.
I hated Gabi so much.
F Gabi.
But I gotta say, while watching the last season so far, I kind of understand her motive. Doesn't mean I like her. Yeah, right. I can understand it. Yeah, right. And that's the thing. I think Isayama was able to write a proper manga in which you're able to understand each of the characters' motives and behaviors. You're gonna hate it or dislike it, but I mean, people could do a big analysis and trying to break it down for each particular character, but the way that everything was done was ideal because you get to have a reason why to hate a certain individual, but you also know the reason behind it as to why that person is acting that way. Stuff like that. I think, it's definitely a good way to end it. I'm glad that Isayama was able to finish everything properly, and now open his bathhouse because I think that's what he wanted after finishing
Attack on Titan bathhouse.
So now he has a way to relax for a bit and or to write more stuff, which I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I'm excited to read what's next for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he'll do. Just to add, just really quick before we end here, what Paul said when I was watching the final episodes of the last season of the first part, that whole part where Gabby is, where Sasha's dad, like, forgives her and or doesn't hold anything against her, and she's surprised by it, but then surprised by Sasha's sister who almost goes and kills her. Like, it really, she didn't understand that these were people, right? Because they've all been told these are the demons, these are lesser beings that are on this island that we need to destroy. And so they never saw it as someone equal to them. Like, I don't think this was his intention or for parody, but like if you look back in the 1800s or 1700s, like with the whole slave trade thing, like the slaves were looked at as 2/3 of a person or 3/5 of a person. Like, I know he wasn't probably making that comparison, but it just kind of made me think that way. Like, I think people were taught to believe that they were lesser, and that's why she didn't think whatever she did was wrong. Like I said, I does not excuse her for what she did to Sasha. Doesn't excuse her, and I would never like her. But like Paul said, I understand why. And she was able to change her ways and kind of think, okay, well, these guys aren't actually demons. They're not lesser. They just want freedom, and they want to live just like I do. So it's cool that Isayama did it that way. Yeah, I'm really glad that he did that, and it was just fantastic writing, and and I'm glad that it ended the way it did. So, but yeah, I think that is it for this video. I want to know, and I think Paul and Miles want to know what you guys think of this final chapter that you read. Did you like it? Did you absolutely hate it? Like, I want to hear if you didn't like it at all, like all the reasons why. I know there can, like I said, we named some that could be issues, but I want to hear more specific, like why you didn't like it and what you're expecting out of the ending. I think that'd be great. So just leave a comment down below and like and subscribe so you can get more of our videos. And thanks so much for watching, guys. It's been... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say really quick, if people have any requests to talk about more about Attack on Titan, I'll be happy to talk about it. Like, if there's a particular topic that you guys want to hear or something related in detail, we can definitely talk about it, because I think a lot of people will be interested in hearing more about Attack on Titan. Yeah,
we can do deep dives on characters or lore or whatever it may be. So just let us know. So thanks so much for watching. It's been one heck of a ride, and can't wait to see what we review next. So signing off, this is David the Smash Fan.
Monster Tech Guy.
And Porian.
And this is Chibi no Podcast.